Hello, I'm Larry and this is Carter's Country. I'm joined today by Justin Carter and we're going to talk about some different non-magnified optics. Most people generally lump these all into the category of red dot, and although as a general description that's more than adequate, there are some differences between the three main types. You've got reflex, prism, and holographic optics. We're going to go over each one today and talk a little bit about how they work and the pros and cons of each one. Justin, thanks for joining me again today. First, we're going to look at a reflex sight. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what goes on inside this thing when a person turns it on and is using it.
Perfect. Thanks for having me again. Your basic reflex sight is what most people refer to as a red dot. That's kind of the layman's term. But what it is, it's an LED light that comes from the rear of the sight that's reflected off the front lens back to the shooter's view to allow for quick assessment of your shooting targets. The joy is that most of them have some kind of variation in how bright the dot gets. You can obviously sight it in to better performance as well.
Okay. Now with a sight like this, a couple of the things that makes it popular. One is it's got unlimited eye relief. It doesn't really matter how close or far away from it. If you can see the red dot, then you've got a sight that will work. Second thing about it, obviously it's very small, it's lightweight, won't really change the feel or dynamics of your gun at all if you put one of these on.
Correct.
A couple of the things that are kind of, I mean, they're cons, but it's not really something that would stop someone from using it. You don't have any magnification. Whatever you see through there, that's the magnification you get. It's just one for one. Secondly, there's limited options on the reticle. The one most significant con to it is it's not an etched reticle, which means if your battery's dead or low and there's no light, then you're just looking through a window. There's no point of reference, there's no etching to let you know you're on target. These are generally the least expensive of the three options. That probably makes them the most popular. They're also really simple to use. You put it on, you turn it on, once it's sighted in, you see your red dot, you're ready to shoot.
Well, and keep in mind, the nice thing about these is that once you mount them on your average rail, they're going to be decent to use on any of your 50 to shorter ranges, especially out here on our shooting range. And so assembly and mounting is very simple. Now we actually have a lot more that are coming out with different types of sights. So you get a crosshair type reflective sight, and there's some options out there now as we get further down the road.
And talking about the weight thing again, you know, if you're going to put this on an AR platform gun, there's so many accessories that can be added to an AR. You can really turn it into a pretty heavy thing with a bipod, with a flashlight, you know, with so many other things you can add to it. So having such an important piece of your AR package be so light is a pretty big selling point for a lot of people, I think.
Absolutely. We see a lot of people come out, and I mean, this is one of the first things that we try to put on any gun that we sell, because you need something to use out here. If you don't have your traditional sights, you got to have something. Right.
You got to know what you're going to hit when you pull the trigger.
Maybe. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about the reflective sights, let's talk a little bit about prism sights and see what their pros and cons are.
Okay.
There's that. So as you already know, but a little bit more about a prism sight, this is going to be the sight that's going to give you more of a rifle scope solution, right? So you're going to get a little bit more distance. It operates a lot like your traditional rifle scopes that are 3 to 9 to 40, but you're not going to get that superb magnification. But it's definitely an option out there that we have available at the stores now.
Some of the advantage of the prism sights, it does have an etched reticle. So no matter what your battery power, you do have a point of reference to use the sight. That's one of the advantages, like we talked about on the reflex sight, that's something it doesn't have. Even with a low battery or no battery, you still have an etched reticle that you can use. And that can be pretty important if you're out there for a few days and didn't bring an extra battery or something.
It's always the solution, right?
Right, exactly.
That's the key.
Generally in these, you'll find more reticle options of a crosshair, multiple colors, brightness variances and things like that you won't find in some of your reflex sights. The last thing about it, big advantage it has over the reflex sights is you can buy this in different magnification powers. Now there's not currently a variable power prism sight, but you can buy it in a fixed magnification of anywhere from 1 up to 5 power.
Yeah.
So you do have some options there. If you have a specific shooting application where you're going to want the magnification, then this would be something you would definitely look at. A couple of things about it, some people may consider a con, and again, it would depend on the weapon you're putting it on and what you're using it for. You do have limited eye relief. You had mentioned a traditional rifle scope.
Closer.
If you've ever shot through a traditional scope, you know until you get your eye just right, you're going to see this little weird bubble, you know, expanding and shrinking and things like that. Similar with this, you do have a limited area of eye relief to make a shot. The other thing about it, although it's not much bigger, it is heavier than your Reflex Sight.
A little front heavy.
Yeah, a little front heavy too. And again, depending on what gun you're putting it on and what uses you're going to have for it, weight may be a factor for you. But it is a great option, and it does offer you a few advantages that the Reflex Sight doesn't.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is it's going to get you right over that 50 to 100 yard range that a lot of guys are looking for in more of a hunting scenario versus target shooting, quick solutions at the range.
Right.
So that's nice to see.
Yeah, it's definitely a solution that will fit a lot of people a lot better than just the standard Reflex Sight.
Okay, I think that covers enough about the Prism options. So for our last one, we have the Holographic Sight. This is going to use a combination of lenses and reflectors to get the most efficient sight pattern in all three of them, because it's really a combination of the other two that we've looked at today.
Okay.
Definitely the coolest of the options, and sometimes a little bit of the pricier one, but we'll go through the pros and cons and see what comes from that.
Yeah, the cooler is often the pricier. If you notice, that's a trend in all products.
And everything.
Some of the advantages of the Holographic Sight is a larger field of view than you're going to get from the Reflex or the Prism. Another thing about it, it's got a really small dot. So if you're looking at rapid target acquisition, say you're out hunting and come up on a herd of hogs or something, the dot against your target lets you see more of the target when you're making your decision about shooting. Another thing about this is you do have the unlimited eye relief. So it, again, going back to target acquisition, you can shoot it from a variety of angles. Another thing about that's unique to the Holographic Sight is that even if you move your head after, you get on, you're ready to shoot, you move your head or just a little bit, but don't move the gun, your target is still on.
Yeah.
That dot's not going to move, whereas the others, you're going to see the dot, dart around. This is going to stay on target for you. And again, in a hunting application, that can be very important.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know how that works, but they make it work, so that's good.
Leave the smart stuff to the smart people.
Exactly. That's always been the way I do things. You do have multiple reticle options with this also. On the con side of it, really, you've got no etched reticle, so make sure you've got a good battery before you head out. The second thing, and you alluded to it, is cost. If you're on a budget, you've obviously got a lot of things to buy to put together what you're doing. This is one that you're going to have to think about a little bit more than either of the other two options. With all three are very serviceable, very usable, and will do the job for you. It really just kind of depends on what job you want done and how you want it done. We haven't covered everything here, but there's a lot more questions about any one of these. And if you come to any one of our 4 locations, we'll have people that can go into more depth and detail with you, can mount it on a gun for you and let you actually see some of the things we've been talking about here.
Exactly. That's always helpful.
And remember, if you've ever shot, or hunted with us, you're part of the Carter's Country family. Until next time, adios.